It does seem like not a day goes by without our news feeds being populated with horror stories of immigrants being forcibly deported for various reasons. Whatever those reasons are, it's obvious that we cannot distance ourselves from the trauma our immigrant population goes through, while the threat of deportation looms over their heads. The psychological effects of such anti-immigrant policies ripple through individuals and communities, leaving behind a legacy of fear, mistrust, and fractured identities. These policies often create an atmosphere of uncertainty and hostility that permeates every aspect of life for immigrants. For many of them, the constant threat of deportation looms large, compounded by fears of family separation, workplace exploitation, or racial profiling. This pervasive insecurity can lead to chronic stress, hypervigilance, and anxiety, as individuals are forced to navigate daily life under the shadow of potential legal repercussions. According to research conducted by the American Psychological Association, prolonged exposure to such hostile environments significantly increases the risk of mental health disorders, including depression, generalized anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. A 2018 study published in Social Science and Medicine found that stricter immigration enforcement policies were directly associated with higher levels of psychological distress among Latino immigrant families, even when they had legal residency status. Beyond individual suffering, these policies contribute to a broader climate of xenophobia that fosters collective trauma within immigrant communities. The dehumanizing rhetoric and actions embedded in anti-immigrant measures send powerful messages about who belongs and who does not in a given society. Even those not directly targeted may internalize societal narratives of unworthiness or otherness, which can erode self-esteem and exacerbate feelings of alienation. Sociologist Arlie Hochschild's concept of emotional landscapes helps explain how marginalized groups experience this phenomenon. When systemic barriers reinforce exclusionary attitudes, individuals must constantly negotiate their place in the world. Moreover, the impact extends beyond immediate immigrant populations to affect second- and third-generation descendants, who may inherit intergenerational trauma stemming from their ancestors' experiences of discrimination and hardship. Children in immigrant families are particularly vulnerable to the psychological toll of anti-immigrant policies. They often absorb the emotional burdens carried by their parents, witnessing firsthand the stress, grief, or despair caused by fear of deportation or economic instability. At the same time, these children face unique challenges of their own, grappling with questions of identity, safety, and belonging. Numerous research in pediatrics highlights that children living under the threat of parental deportation exhibit higher rates of behavioral problems, academic struggles, and developmental delays. Furthermore, discriminatory policies can shape how young immigrants perceive themselves in relation to the broader culture, potentially leading to internalized racism or lowered aspirations due to diminished expectations from society. In some cases, schools become battlegrounds where children encounter bullying or microaggressions fueled by divisive political climates, further compounding their psychological distress. Despite these hardships, resilience often emerges as a defining characteristic of immigrant communities. Acts of resistance, both overt and subtle, serve as lifelines for those navigating the emotional and psychological fallout of anti-immigrant policies. Community organizations, faith-based groups, and advocacy networks play a critical role in fostering solidarity and providing resources to help individuals cope with adversity. Cultural pride also becomes a powerful tool for healing, as celebrating traditions, languages, and shared histories reinforces a sense of identity and purpose. Studies have shown that strong social support systems can mitigate the negative mental health impacts of discrimination, offering protective factors against feelings of isolation or hopelessness. Additionally, grassroots movements advocating for immigrant rights demonstrate the power of collective action in reclaiming dignity and humanity in the face of dehumanizing policies. By amplifying voices that challenge oppressive systems, these efforts inspire hope and remind affected communities that they are not alone in their struggle. In conclusion, the psychological effects of anti-immigrant policies are profound and far-reaching, affecting not only individuals but entire communities across generations. While the trauma inflicted by such measures is undeniable, the resilience displayed by immigrant populations underscores the enduring strength of the human spirit. Understanding these dynamics requires acknowledging both the harm caused by exclusionary practices and the transformative potential of compassion, advocacy, and cultural affirmation in building a more inclusive society. This is a difficult issue to deal with, given its socio-political implications, and it's normal to feel powerless, even when we acknowledge that we should speak up. However, as a community which supports immigration, I believe we can do a lot by working together. Even though we face insurmountable challenges, at least we may be able to individually reach out to immigrants and their families to offer some empathy or help. Thank you for watching this content. Please consider liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Have a wonderful day.